Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is New2 here, and today I'm bringing you a brand new deck, which is a Anzi the Mender tech deck. So, we've got our attack cards, we've got our defend cards, and we've got our buff cards and combos. Let's jump right into it and look at our hero, who is Anzi the Mender. So, Anzi the Mender is a 28 health, superior element mechanical, crazy Doc Octopus type Tyrax here. You can see he's got some really cool art. And what's even cooler is his passive. So his passive says that whenever I play a mechanical buff, we can deal 1 damage to your opponent. It can't be increased by effects. And you can see we've got lots of mechanical buffs all the way around. So we'll surely get good value with his passive. He's only got 28 health, which is on the lower side. But we've got lots of ways to heal up. Or just reduce the damage completely. So we don't mind that at all. We can easily get him up to 35, no problem. So, Anzi the Mender is our hero. So let's jump right onto the attacks. We run 3 Bone Chewer. So Bone Chewer is an interesting card. Firstly, it's mechanical. So that plays off well with his superior element. And it says 3 damage. So you go, oh, okay, sure. But you can increase this by 3 if you've played a mechanical card this turn. Now, with the amount of mechanical cards in this deck, you almost surely will be playing a mechanical card before this. So you'll get a 6 damage without a drawback. So a lot of the time in tech, there's 2 cards that deal you 6 damage I can think of that are attacks. You've got Fumbling Alchemist, where you may have to discard a combo card, or you've got Looper, where your opponent draws a card. So both of those are an advantage to your opponent. So it's 6 damage to them, but there's a negative to you. Bone Chewer offers no negative to you if you can play a mechanical card first. And so the only way really that Bone Chewer is good is if you have a superior element of mechanical, which we do. So we like Bone Chewer because we just can hit them for 6 damage without any drawback. So we run 3 of those. Next, we run 3 Tyrax Mercenary. Just 5 damage, explosive element there. Sometimes you just need the stab, and that's what this does. And we can increase this along with Bone Chewer as well with one of our buffs. So that can turn things like Tyrax Mercenary, make it quite nasty. So we like that, we run 3 of. Next, just 2 Crazed Bombers. Every deck needs buff removal, so we run 2 of those. We remove 3 buffs, remove 2 of your action buffs from yourself. We can get around that negative effect with one of our combos, but unless that's out, we don't really want to be removing a lot of our buffs, so we only run 2. And we also run a couple of other buff removal cards in our buffs. But for now, we would just run 2 Crazed Bombers. If your opponent fills the board up, if you're playing Dread, if you're playing Nature, and they're filling the board up too quick, you can just Crazed Bomber, remove a whole bunch of their buffs. So there are our attack cards. Next, let's have a look at our defends. So the first thing we run, probably my favourite defend card, is 3 Tyrax Engineer. So Tyrax Engineer is a really cool card. You look at the top 4 cards of your deck. For every mechanical card amongst them, you heal for 3 and put the cards back in the same order or shuffle the deck. So I've got a lot of heal for 12s here because we run a lot of mechanicals. All our buffs except for all our combos except for 1 are mechanical. So you all can almost always heal for 12. Sometimes 3 if you're unlucky, but his second part is really good as well. If you don't like your next 4 cards, you can shuffle the deck. So it just gives you the option to kind of plan ahead, at least stop the worst case scenario from happening where the next 4 cards are not going to help you out. So we definitely run 3 of these, and of course it's mechanical, so it combos well with Bone Chewer. Next, 2 Clockwork Construct, soon to be 3 I think. We'll probably replace the Tyrax Fixer with it. So Clockwork Construct's a really cool card, time element, but you can swap a buff in play for a discarded action buff card. This happens immediately. So that means that any buff that's about to expire, you can play down Clockwork Construct, swap it out from your discard for a brand new fresh buff, which takes the place of the old buff in your play area. So it does start at its first corner, but it will be in the position of which the old buff was in. So sometimes that is important, sometimes it isn't, but yep, so that's really cool because you'll see as I go through our buffs, we'll Ramparts, Bulwark Carrier are really good buffs that we want to see keep in play almost all the time, and a Clockwork Construct will help us achieve that, to basically keep your opponent from dealing any damage to you whatsoever. So we love Clockwork Construct. Next, 2 Fountain of Times. I almost run them in all my tech decks. They just give you a little bit of control here. You can keep your buffs in play by your action buffs in play by spinning them backwards to keep them in play for longer, or you can rotate your opponent's buffs either forward or backwards, depending on if you want to get rid of them or not. So, yep, we run 2 Fountain of Times there. Tyrax Fixers, soon to be 1. 4 healing, increase this by 3 if you're below 15 health. Again, really good. Most of the time, though, I feel like with Anzi, you probably won't be below 15 health if the game's going well for you. So, shouldn't worry too much about that, I guess. But I think 1, just in case of emergency, will be fine. And, of course, it's mechanical anyway, so it really helps with like Bone Chewer and Tyrax Engineer. So, 2 at the moment. Next up, buffs. Now, this is our most interesting section here, because all of these, or most of these, will gel with Anzi the Mender. So, our first, we run 3 Ramparts. So, Ramparts is our damage reduction buff. 3 corners, reduce damage received by 2, deal 1 damage to the attacker if you get attacked. So, straight away, that's really good. So, not only are you reducing the damage you receive by 2, you deal 1 point back to them. That instantly takes the wind out of the sails of a lot of aggro decks, because their 6 damage becomes 4 damage, their 5 damage becomes 3 damage, and they're taking 1 point of damage back. So we really like Ramparts, and so the idea is to try and keep these in play with as long as possible through Fountain of Times, through Clockwork Constructs, because if these get removed, you can just play Clockwork Construct and bring these back into play. So yeah, we really like Ramparts, and we definitely want 3 of those. And of course, not only that, but every time you play it down, your opponent will take 1 damage anyway from Anzi the Mender. So we run 3 of those. Next, the Heap. So the Heap's a really cool buff. It has no corners, so it just sits in play. And whenever one of your mechanical buffs leaves play, heal for 2 and draw 1 card. So we really like that. That's just more additional healing and more drawing as well. Sometimes your mechanical buffs will leave play. They'll either be removed, or they'll just expire. You won't have the Fountain of Time, so you'll get your 3 turns with Ramparts and that's it. But when it does leave play, you will heal for the 2 and draw a card. And then if you can play it, down again. That will trigger Anzi the Mender. This triggers Anzi the Mender as well, so we really like that. And we run 3 because they, I believe they do stack. So that's really cool. Next, big guy here, Bulwark Carrier. So Bulwark's really cool. Reduced damage by 7. It's just 2 corners. Second corner's blank. First one has the effect. So this is an amazing card, I think, because just for this turn, it almost says to your opponent, you're not going to deal any damage to me. Unless they're going to play a combo, and even then, most players just won't be able to hit over 7 damage, unless they're running like a big aggro deck, or they've built up a combo where they can swing high enough to damage you for this turn. So it's basically like a free turn for you. If you can play this down, you know that you're pretty much going to be safe. So we really, really like Bulwark Carrier. We can keep him in play with Fountain of Time. We can use Clockwork Construct to swap Bulwark back in. So we really like that. And we run 3 of him. Next, we run a slightly different type of buff. It's not mechanical. We run 2 Unstable Defenders. So this is an unusual buff. So he does 3 damage. 3 damage corners, 1, 2, 2. And then the 4th corner moves buff action cards from your opponent's hand back to their deck. So this works well with our Crazed Bombers. As I was saying, our Crazed Bombers over here, if you don't want to remove them from the field, you can get them from your opponent's hand. Yes, and you might go, oh, well, 5 damage isn't the best. We've got some cards here. We've got a card here that's going to absolutely turn Unstable Defender from just like small damage to like big damage every turn. So we like that. And again, it just offers that little bit of control as well. Your opponent removing buffs. You removing buffs from your opponent's hand. We like that. Next, just 1-off Time Worm. There's some combos we want to keep, like Steel Fortification. And if we can keep this in play for as long as possible, that's better. So Time Worm, just a 1-off, just allows you to get it back. Or any of your combos back. And it's well worth playing, just the 1, I think. Finally, 1 Force Converter here. It's unique, so you can't have multiples of these in play. You can have multiples in the deck, but if you put them down, they become dormant, so only 1 remains active. And this is cool, so it just does 2 healing to yourself and 2 damage to your target at the start of your turn if you have a combo buff in play. So that means that it will only rotate if you have a combo buff in place. If you don't, you can still play it, but just nothing happens. But we like that as well. Just a one-off, I think, because often we will have a combo buff in play. And if you could put this down, it's a pretty useful card. You're going to get 4 turns out of it. So we like Force Converter. So next are combos. This is where we take our kind of deck here. You can take our theme here of defense and just a little bit of damage, and we're going to soup it up with our combo cards. So first is Steel Fortification. 2 mechanical, we can easily pay for that. And it says reduce damage received by tap, so 4/3/3. This is really good. Your other mechanical buffs can't be removed or returned, including by yourself. That means that any other mechanical buffs, like your like other combos, your Bulwark Carriers, the Heaps, Ramparts, they cannot be, your Force Converter, they cannot be removed even by yourself. So you can play Crazed Bomber, remove 3 buffs, remove 2 of your action buffs from yourself. That doesn't take effect. So Steel Fortifications is really cool for that. It just allows you to know that you're going to get the maximum value for all your mechanical buffs. And of course that triggers Anzi as well. So we like Steel Fortification. Next, Smart Bomb, just a standard aggressive card here. 1 of each is fine. It's also a mechanical buff because it's got the mechanical symbol, so it triggers Anzi. But it just does 16 damage on the second turn. So you play it down, turn 1, turn 2, kaboom. Yeah, we like Smart Bomb. It's good. 16 damage is pretty consistent. Your opponent only has a very limited time to remove it. So, yep, we like Smart Bomb. And of course, they can't if you've got Steel Fortifications out. Next, Minefield. So, Minefield is a defensive card, a little bit like Ramparts in a way. If you get attacked, your opponent will take the 6 damage, and you take 1 damage. So, yeah, it's, again, cheap to play. It's a mechanical buff, so it triggers Anzi, and they're going to be taking 6 damage, 6 damage, 6 damage if they attack you. So, we like that. Time Leap, our only non-mechanical buff, combo buff. It's quite an interesting one because you can move your last discarded buff into play, gain 1 additional action. Now, it doesn't say your last discarded action buff, so we can put combo buffs right back into play. You can get your Bulwark Carriers, your Ramparts, your Heaps there if you need those, and then you gain an additional action as well to top it off. So yeah, this is a really good combo in this deck. We like that. And our final card here, Body Morph. Increase damage done to other heroes by tap, and then you take 1 damage, which we can mitigate fine, no problem, because you're going to have Body Morph on the field. Let's say you have a Ramparts out on the field. So you're reducing your damage done by 2. Let's say that's like that. Now if they attack you, they're going to take the 1 damage, but we increase the damage done to other heroes by 3. So they're taking 4 damage. There is reduced by 2. If you have Minefield as well out, they're going to attack you. They're going to take 6 damage plus 3. That's 9 plus 1 from the Ramparts. That's 10. We're going to make that another 3 though. So that's 13. They're going to take 13 damage just from 1 attack on you, and you're reducing the damage done by 2 anyway. And then, just in all probability, if you manage to get Steel Fortifications out as well, I mean, they're just not removing any of these. So we really like those. It just makes your opponent think twice. Any damage that they're going to do to you is going to swing back on them. And of course, all the time you're just chipping away with Anzi as well, so you're dealing that kind of passive damage. Body Morph doesn't increase Anzi's passive, unfortunately. Would be really cool if it did, but it doesn't. So anyway, this is the Anzi the Mender mechanical buff deck. Thank you for watching. I've been U2. If you've enjoyed it, same as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'd be very grateful to hear your feedback. If I've missed anything out, please let me know. If there's any videos you want to see, I'll be happy to take a look at what you want to see. And stay tuned for the next deck coming in a couple of weeks. Thank you very much. Goodbye all.